So without any further ado, let me introduce President Jeff Teper.
Thank you. Good morning. Come on. I know Scott and team had some great content. I also know we're an hour and a half in and people are getting fidgety, so we got to get some energy up because we've got a lot of great updates on our product roadmap to share with you this morning. So first, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully, you know that we've really celebrated community as part of Microsoft 365 from the very beginning. You can't build collaboration tools without having a collaboration mindset with the community of customers and partners and organizations of all sizes. So how many people is this their first Microsoft 365 conference? That's awesome. Welcome to the best community in tech. This is a place where you learn not only product roadmaps and technical details, but things like change management, business process transformation, how to make business cases to leaders, but perhaps even more importantly, lots of professional networking and lifelong friendships. I saw over the course of the last day or so, including the SharePint last night at the bar, people have known each other for over a decade and built deep friendships. So for everybody here who's for the first time, thank you so much for being part of the best community in tech. As part of this, we want to make sure we get together once or twice a year in big events like this, but we also want to make sure we reach out to people in local communities, people who may not have the time or money or budget to get to an event like this. People want to see each other regularly on different topics as our product roadmap evolves very rapidly. And I was very excited at Ignite a few weeks ago to announce our new community initiative around communitydays.org. This is a website where you can discover or create events in your own local community. So if you want to do something about Viva, or Azure AI, or Microsoft Teams, or SharePoint deep dives, you can go to this site and find these events in your area and create more. So thank you to everybody who's taken the initiative and giving back to their local communities as part of this program. All right, now we're going to talk about Microsoft 365. I think about this from two perspectives, the individual and the organization. From the individual side, we're trying to help people be more productive, collaborate with others, have an impact on their organization by being able to work with anyone, any place, anytime, on any device with a mix of synchronous and asynchronous collaboration tools with great security and AI and so forth. At the same time, we're trying to help organizations transform to be more successful, to better serve their stakeholders, be it customers or citizens or partners and so forth. And I'm really excited about the spectrum of work we're doing across Microsoft, including Microsoft 365 and the work Scott and team talked about, where we're bringing together collaboration and business process transformation, AI and machine learning to help organizations work in fundamentally different ways. I love that the team closed on that last demo showing the Power Platform integrating with SharePoint data sources and Teams. That's magic. And we're going to do a lot more of that as a company working together end-to-end to make sure that you've got a Microsoft Cloud platform that'll help you transform. But we know in this environment, it's not just about productivity and collaboration and business growth. In order to make the case for these kinds of investments, you've got to show hard dollar savings to your CFO. In fact, our own CFO, Amy Hood, reminds me of this all the time as she talks to her peers. How are you going to do more with less? It's not just do more, but do more efficiently. And so we're very excited, and hopefully you've seen our strategy evolve over the years in Office in a consistent way, where we bring together a set of best-in-class tools with an integrated user experience, developer platform, security and governance, into a holistic offering that is lower cost than if you had to license and assemble all these components together. And we published recently the data that this could save you up to 60% versus disparate tools. That doesn't mean we're not intensely focused on being best in class in everything we do. And there's a lot of great innovation out in the industry, but we're trying to do like we've always done with Office, which is have Word, Excel, PowerPoint be the best in their category, but then be a great value proposition together with a seamless experience at lower cost. So pretty consistent. And so as we bridge that into some of the things you'll see from us this morning, I'm going to talk very briefly about Teams and SharePoint because they're sort of foundational to what we do. Microsoft Teams, unique point of view when we launched it back in 2017, bringing together multiple modes of collaboration, asynchronous, synchronous, chats, meetings, files, etc., into a single experience. And we're really excited, of course, that this not only makes it more seamless for people to work collaboratively in a hybrid way, working asynchronously when that's the right thing to do, jumping into a meeting when they need a meeting, but this is also a platform that you can build and integrate other applications on, because we're never going to give you the horizontal out-of-box offering in Teams that addresses, say, insurance claims processing or pharmaceutical drug discovery. Those are workflows and applications you build and integrate. And so the Teams platform is one of the most fundamental parts of Microsoft's strategy, so you can build and integrate these solutions inside Teams, as you saw at the end there with Power Automate in the Teams integration. And because we have this unique approach, when the pandemic hit, we were very fortunate that many of you and your organizations have adopted Microsoft Teams, and it's been one of the fastest growing products in the history of Microsoft. Over 270 million monthly active users currently of Teams and continuing to grow. One of the things I'm excited about is we're not just addressing the needs of traditional information workers. People would use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, et cetera. But we're addressing new frontline workers, or at least new to the Microsoft productivity solution. American Airlines, their Connect Me applications, how their gate agents turn around planes, is a mobile app built inside Microsoft Teams. And so that is a big source of the new user growth for us. All right, just like with Teams, we're continuing to focus on being best in class. As I said, it's not just with less, it's do more. And in order to do that, you need to be best in breed. So this is here where we were in communications back in 2015 with Teams. This is the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Unified Communications as a Service. And you see us over on the left side, upper left side of the party, which is, you know, an okay party, but not the great party where you want to be. Well, just a few weeks ago, Gartner published an update that showed that we were best in class in both vision and execution in the unified communication collaboration space with Teams. And we are not resting on our laurels. When they evaluated this was earlier in the year, actually. And since then, as part of this calendar year, we've introduced over 450 new capabilities inside Microsoft Teams. And Holly Lehman, in a few minutes, is going to show you just a couple of those. All right, transitioning from Teams to SharePoint, just like Teams, is a unique approach where we bring together multiple collaboration tools in a single shell. SharePoint has a unique approach as the most flexible content cloud platform in tech, where we bring together all sorts of new data types in a single environment. So, of course, SharePoint sites, and there are over 8 million new SharePoint sites created every single month because of that great new experience that we've done in SharePoint over the last few years, and there's more to come. OneDrive, Stephen Rose is going to talk about OneDrive, one of his favorite products. The new Microsoft List, Chris is going to talk about the List experience. And then Chris McNulty, we have two Chris's in the keynote, is going to talk about Viva and Syntex, which build on top of SharePoint. So again, the most flexible content cloud, powering these experiences across Microsoft 365, SharePoint, and much more. And just like Teams, we're very grateful for the support you and your organizations have given us. We're now at the point where over 150 petabytes of new content every month are added to SharePoint through all these experiences. OneDrive, Stream, core SharePoint sites, Teams, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for the bet on us. I guess the main thing I want to stress across Teams, SharePoint, and the rest of Microsoft 365 is we are not resting on our laurels. We know that you have a lot of different needs and feedback in your organization. We know there are other great choices in tech. And the pedal is to the metal. We're innovating faster than ever on fundamentals, simplicity, performance, reliability, and new innovations, everything from AI to the metaverse and much more. And so we're going to talk about that this morning in 3 main sections, and then I'll close at the end. So first, Holly and Stephen are going to talk about our core collaboration capabilities in Teams, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And then Chris is going to come up and talk about some of the new productivity experiences built on Teams and SharePoint, Stream, Lists, and Loop. Then Chris McNulty is going to share the latest new families we've introduced for employee engagement and content transformation with Viva and Syntax. And then I'll wrap up with a few thoughts on IT Pro and developers. So with that, let's jump in and get started. We have some great content. I'm very excited to bring up Holly and Stephen to talk about our core collaboration tools. Let's welcome them to the stage.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Holly.
Good morning, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here with you all today. We have so much exciting news to talk about. To start with, over the last year, we have really worked hard, Microsoft Teams engineering, to improve the performance of Chat and Collab for all of you. I am really excited to see how we continue to iterate and improve so that you have the best performance possible. Also, we might seem like a really fast-moving train, and guess what? We are. The way that we are sharing new features monthly, it's a lot. And I can tell you because I get to manage the blog for Microsoft What's New in Teams Monthly. And it's a lot to take in and a lot to ingest, but you know what? It's because of your feedback that we're able to provide these enhancements and innovations. It might be because of a device need, it might be a geolocation, it might be an industry or a vertical need. So just know that we are listening to your feedback as we provide all the features and capabilities. So let's jump in. Let's see. There we go. So on this slide, there is a lot of information to take in. So I just want to talk about a few features that are really exciting to me personally. Let's talk about Excel Live. It was just recently announced. For those of you that have used PowerPoint Live, with all the functionality to make meetings more engaging and collaborative, we're now bringing all of those enhancements to Excel Live as well. So jump in and start collaborating. The other piece I want to talk about is Front Row with the 360 camera. Now, for those of you that have used Front Row, it's exciting because it feels like you're sitting across the table from your coworkers or attendees, whether they're in the room or they're in the meeting virtually. But with the 360 camera, you get the capability of really zooming in on a per-person individual, and it shows up at the bottom of the screen. So whether you're in the room or hybrid, everybody in the meeting has the ability to have the equal visibility and engagement in the room. For me, inclusion is important, and that's what this offers to you. The last thing I want to talk about, I'm really passionate about this, it's video clip. Chat is a wonderful option if you want to send a quick message, but have you ever ended a meeting and you're so proud of the work that your team did, or the meeting that you just had with a partner or a customer, and you just want to share your emotion and tonation? Video clip is the easiest way to do it. Super easy, super fun, try it out. Next, we have Mesh Avatar. I think this is a really great opportunity. When you're in meetings all day, sometimes you don't want to be camera on, but you still want to engage the audience. So an avatar is the great way to do it. We also give you the capability of designing your outfit to really amplify who you are and show your passion and creativity. We also give you the opportunity to show emojis and engagement for those that are speaking. For those of you that have done virtual sessions over the last 2 years, you know how tough it can be to just look at a screen. So having the avatars really brings everybody together and shows the inclusion. Next, if you heard it at Ignite, we are excited to announce Microsoft Teams Premium. If you are around tomorrow afternoon, I will be doing a session delving into this a bit more. We have a lot of enhancements to show you. Like I said, at Ignite this year, we announced Teams Premium, which will offer you enhanced security capabilities, personalization, which is so important today when we think about branding your company and your logos, and then the intelligent recap at the end of the meeting. So now we want to talk about meeting guides. This is a really nice opportunity where you can create a meeting guide depending on what type of meeting, who should be attending, and making it more efficient as you focus on the discussion itself. With these meeting guides, you can create the template so that it creates an ease for when you send out your meeting invites, offering invites, emails, and then really focusing on the discussion. During the meeting, you can also brand your logo so that everyone knows that they're in the room and really have that personalized experience. Next, advanced webinars. This is really a great opportunity because it improves your registration experience with a wait list of capacity for management and manual approval of who should be in the meeting, who should wait, and who should be invited to the green screen. This gives you an opportunity to have a chat before or after with your attendees and include Q&A discussion. And this is a really nice capability. Hybrid scheduling. You know, anymore, we don't know who's going to be in the office or who's going to be hybrid. So by offering the hybrid scheduling capability, you're able to really know who's going to be in the office or remote and maximize the time as you send out the invite. And lastly, Microsoft Places. This gives you the opportunity to really collaborate with people in the room. How many times have we wanted to schedule a meeting, but we're not sure which of the meeting rooms is the best setup for technology and enhancement with those that are in the room? So now we can coordinate where we work, modernize the physical space to ensure that that space has the technology needed to really make that meeting effective, and then optimize the space and cost. This is all coming to you, and we're very excited to share these announcements with you. Join more of the Microsoft Teams sessions to learn more. And that, I'll hand it over to my friend and the host of Inside Microsoft Teams, Stephen Rose.
It is awesome to be back in front of so many people in person again. It is so nice to see everybody. And yes, I'm the Teams guy now, but I love OneDrive. How many of you are OneDrive fans? Oh, that was sucky, because, you know, no, hang on. I brought all these really cool OneDrive t-shirts that we were going to throw out if people were excited. Oh, now people get excited. So there's a bunch that'll get thrown out to in the audience. And if you, yeah, back row. Not at my age. I'm not straining a muscle. I got more that we'll throw out to the audience. There's a whole bag of them out there. And if you don't get the right size, hey, you get to make a new friend. Hey, are you a medium or a large? That'll be a great way to meet people. So we have worked incredibly hard on unifying and doing great new things with the OneDrive experience. Man, I suck at throwing. This is why I got into IT and not sports. OneDrive really helps us to unify the Microsoft 365 experience. When all your files are in OneDrive, it's not only your files, it's everything that is being shared with you. It powers collab features like co-authoring and @mentions, and it guarantees security and governance and compliance all at the same time, and that's what's important. Now, for me, what's interesting is I have a variety of different machines. I have my Surface Studio when I'm at home. When I'm on the road, I'm using MacBook Air. I have my phone, I have an Android device, and the thing that I love is with OneDrive, it allows me to access every file. As soon as I add something to my desktop at home, it's on my desktop folder here, it's available on my phone, and I can capture every receipt that I'm doing here while I'm here in Vegas. I just take a picture of it, it goes into a folder called Receipts, I'm all set and ready to go, and it captures it and straightens it, makes it look beautiful. But most important is everything is backed up. If God forbid something happens to my laptop, I can go to anybody's device here in the room on any platform, be able to log in and access all of my content. And that's what OneDrive is about. It is one place to hold all of that securely through governance and ease. But we've added new features to make it even better, even easier. This is now one of my new favorite things is we already had this great, shared page, this great shared experience that would help you get to all your files. But the thing that was missing was like a few views, a few things to make it a little bit easier to get to content. And the team has done this. They've added more contextual and human ways for you to be able to get to things. Whether, I don't remember the name of the file, but is there a person? I can now do it by a person. I can do it through files and folders. I can see what was shared with me. all of it here. So here we are taking a look, so I can go up, I can click on the shared with me, I can look at people, I can look at it by meetings and content that was shared in meetings, I can see what I shared, or I can even filter it by the type of file, or even the activity. So more ways to be able to get to the same content that's important to you more quickly. So don't just feel you can only go into Teams or SharePoint, but you can go into OneDrive and find that content and bring it all together just as well. Next is a new sharing experience. One of the things that a lot of folks have asked for a while is sharing needs to be easier, and we've done that. You just click share, you type in the name of the group, you can pick if they can edit, review, cannot view. We have people with the link, existing access, we can look at specific people, but one of the things that folks are asking for is a comments-only view. What if I don't want folks to be able to edit it or change it, but I just want to be able to add comments? Well, now we've done that. So you'll see, we'll go up here, we'll add Lesha. We'll drop down, and there it is. Can review, can only suggest changes. So just off to the side. So you've asked for it, and we've now brought it to the product. You can clap, that's okay, that's great. We're also pleased to give you an early look at what happens when you take OneDrive web app and document libraries and mix it with Project Nucleus. So what we'll see here is we have a series of files that we are working with, libraries, and they're loading and they're interacting with OneDrive. We can take this now all offline. We can do files on demand with this. We can do it directly through the web app. So now you don't necessarily have to have the desktop app. If you're web-based and love all the stuff in web-based, you can now take these files offline and work with them anywhere you want to. So all that power of OneDrive, all the power of the browser, all the latest features and functionality brought together for you in one place. So lots of great new stuff with OneDrive. Shared with me favorites, the new contextual share menus, improved link settings, the offline mode for OneDrive Web, and even remote app support. That's the other thing too, is I often use Windows Virtual Desktop and Windows 365, and that's the same thing there as once I connect it to OneDrive, there's every file on the desktop. So I'm running Windows 11 on my iPad with all my files right there. It's pretty cool, and if you want to see a demo of it, come find me or check out one of my sessions and I'll show it to you. Let's not forget about SharePoint, because we have, what do we have, 1 or 2 folks in here who like SharePoint, right? Oh, that was crappy. Are you all that hungover today? It's early. You got to pace yourself as you drink each night. So Thursday should be your big hangover. Let's try that again. How many SharePoint fans do we have out here? Much better. Lots of cool new SharePoint stuff for you. We will continue. Let it be certainly understood that although we are very, very focused in on a lot of different products like Teams, especially for me, we are not in any way, shape, or form slowing down with performance for the Teams platform, what we're doing in OneDrive, what we're doing in SharePoint, and you're going to hear a bunch of really cool stuff on advances that we're doing in Stream, Lists, and Loops. So loops, not loops, loop. Stream, lists, loops. That should be like a tongue twister. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Jeff, and we've got some great sessions this week. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and we'll see you in a little bit.
Thank you, Stephen. So again, those are our core baseline collaboration capabilities. Teams integrating all these tools, including custom apps. SharePoint powering not just sites and files, but a richer set of content, and a big focus on innovation in these existing products, spanning simplicity, fundamentals, all the way to innovations in new spaces. All right, now we thought we'd talk about some of the newest members of the family. You know, we've got these big established hubs, if you will, in Teams and SharePoint, but we want to make sure that we have innovative tools for collaborating in new ways on documents, on lists of data, on creating and sharing videos in the organization. And so that's why we've created these 3 new applications. Of course, they exist standalone, simple and streamlined, but they also plug into Teams and SharePoint and Outlook and much, much more. And so to show us these 3 new applications and their innovation around them, I'm very excited to bring to the stage Chris Bortlick. Chris.
Thanks, Jeff. Good morning. How's everyone doing? I got to follow Steve and Rose, so have a little sympathy for me, please, all right? So my name is Chris Bortlick. I'm a principal architect at the Microsoft Technology Center in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm really excited to share the innovation we've been doing in Stream, List, and Loop. All right. So Microsoft Stream. How many of you are using Microsoft Stream today? Awesome. How many of you are using Stream on SharePoint, also known as Stream 2.0? Well, you're not alone. We actually have more customers today leveraging Stream 2.0 or Stream on SharePoint than leveraging Classic Stream. While we know there's still some things that need to come over from Classic Stream into Stream on SharePoint, the team's been innovating really hard, not just on migration scenarios, but also some innovative new capabilities that I'm going to share with you now. So as Jeff mentioned, we've been having a great focus around SharePoint being the content management platform for all of Microsoft 365. One of the things I love the most about Stream on SharePoint is that video is now treated like any other document type. We have the ability to do things we could always do with other content in SharePoint around versioning, external sharing, getting into more retention and archiving, e-discovery, data loss prevention capabilities. The new Stream has the Stream Start page. Within the Stream Start page, I can get back to videos I've recently watched. I can favorite them. Microsoft Teams meeting recordings are also stored in Microsoft Stream, which means it's real easy to get back to videos and meeting recordings I might have missed. As an owner of a video, I can go in and I can modify the properties of the video. I can change the name of it. I can bold and italicize. I can add a thumbnail to the video if I want to. But because it's just like any other document type, I can move it and copy it to another library very simply. I can go ahead and share it. I can grab an embed code to embed the Stream video in another page. Certainly the features we've had before around playback rate, closed captioning, the ability to have noise suppression if there's a lot of background noise in the video. Really excited about the work around transcripts. Transcripts are able to be generated in 28 different languages. In this case, I'm starting in English, changing over to Spanish, then I can search within the transcript, bring back the content in a different language, and again, if I have the appropriate permission on the video, I can go in and actually modify it. So in this case, maybe I want to make Contoso a lowercase c. We also have chapters and videos. If you have long videos like a CEO connection, a town hall meeting, we can go ahead and add chapters. If you're using PowerPoint Live, we can auto-generate the chapters for you as well. The last thing we can do is we now have the ability to go in and add comments. Again, just like other document types, I can like a video, a comment, I can add a comment, I can mention another person. Again, trying to make it really easy, simple, and familiar to incorporate video into all that we do. Now, speaking of having video embedded where we are, how many are using Yammer today in Viva Engage? Awesome. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is how we made it really easy to post a video from Stream into Yammer and Viva Engage. In this case, I'm going to just grab a link to a video, post it in there, and when I go to play back the video, it's playing back directly inside of either Yammer or, in this case, Engage inside of Teams. I don't have to pop out to another site. I get access to the chapters and all that. Now, if I had an email notification turned on, that notification is also sent to me via Outlook. And again, I get that same consistent player experience in the application that I'm in. I'm not having to lose context, pop a browser open to another window. The video just plays inline in Teams, in Yammer, in Outlook, and across the platform. There's a ton of announcements we made around Microsoft Stream and Stream 2.0. Again, I encourage you, if you haven't already, to review the Stream roadmap site. Very excited about the migration tool that's out there to help us with migrating video from Classic Stream to Stream 2.0. Again, Stream on SharePoint is generally available. This is not beta. We've had customers, including Microsoft, working and using the platform for months. I mentioned some of the things we've done around external sharing and guest sharing. One of the common pain points with Classic Stream was sharing videos externally, including a meeting recording that was being done. That problem has been addressed. That challenge has been addressed. Having some of those, again, records management capabilities. Yeah, Bob, you can clap. Having the ability to play those videos inside of, again, other applications, whether it's Viva Connections, Viva Engage, Teams as well. So again, super excited about all the great work coming in Stream today. And again, closing the gap with the remaining couple of things that aren't in Stream yet that are coming from Classic Stream. All right, Microsoft Lists. I've been really happy to be working with SharePoint for over 20 years. And one of the foundations of SharePoint, as folks have known, has not just been document libraries, but also Microsoft Lists. I'm a huge list fan. As folks probably know, we have lists embedded in SharePoint today. Lists has been a standalone application on its own, but as Jeff was talking, lists can be embedded in other applications like Microsoft Teams. There is a dedicated list mobile application as well if you just want to work with your lists. We actually use lists to manage all of the conference tracks for this event, for the Microsoft 365 conference within Microsoft. We used a list to track who was speaking on what sessions. So within Microsoft Lists, I'm really excited about the integration we're doing with the Power Platform, things like Power Automate. So in this case, I have a marketing site. I want to create a brand new list. That list is going to be used to track work progress. So there's a list template. When I invoke that list template, it will go ahead and actually let me put in the name of the list, put in the description. But now it's going to go ahead and it's going to create the Power Automate workflow for me if I wanted to. It's going to set a reminder for 3 days for whoever the item is being assigned to. It takes a few seconds for the workflow to get generated. When it's done, I get notified inside of Teams. I also will get an email notification letting me know that the connection between that list and that flow are wired up. And then that is just another Power Automate workflow. I can go into Power Automate and I can modify the workflow that was created, maybe change the date beyond 3 days, have some sort of an action that gets done. But the key thing is it's wiring up that connection between lists and Power Automate, making it really easy for people to build process automation. We're doing the same thing with approvals. How many are using the approvals application today? Right, so making it really easy to do approvals. In this case, I'm going to start off in the list application. I'm going to use the travel request template. I'm going to pick that template. I'm going to go ahead and associate this list in the sales site. And then I have the ability to go in and create a new item. Maybe I want to get approval to travel to a conference in Las Vegas like this one. So I enter the item. I can click on the item, and I can click the request approval. Now a dialog box pops up directly in context of where I am. I can put Stephen in as the approver. I can pick how many approvers need to approve it before it's approved. Then it goes out and it actually will send the approval notification to the approver inside of Microsoft Teams. That person will get that notification. They can approve it in line. The approval status will get updated, not just in the approvals app, but it will also update the status of the item in the list as well. So really great integration of a very common use case with taking these templates of having a list with the approval app and then updating the list item status so we can create lists and filtered views and other things on those list items as well. The third scenario is around a new calendar view we created. So in this case, I have a list that's been created for hiring. I might be tracking different candidates as they move through the hiring process. Are we doing a screen with them? Have we scheduled an interview with them? We have the ability now to go out and create a brand new view. So I'm going to click on Create View, use the calendar view. Now we not only have the choice to use the monthly view, there's a new view coming for weekly items. I can pick the item starts based on the interview start date. It ends based on the interview end date. And when that comes up, I get a really nice grid view of that. These items are not just view only. I can drag and drop and move things around on the calendar. So maybe I want to move Morgan from Saturday to Sunday, maybe move that back. There's also a view that can show me all unscheduled items on that list. So in this case, there's an interview that needs to be scheduled for Ashley. I can drag her from that queue of unscheduled items and drop that over there as well. What do you think about that? Now, in addition to using Microsoft Lists inside of Microsoft 365 as enterprise and commercial and education and government customers, we've also introduced the capability to use Lists as consumers or small business with Microsoft accounts or MSAs. So if you go to list.live.com, you can start using Lists today at home. As soon as I'm a big Lists fan, I use Lists a lot. I have a wife and 4 daughters, and we use Lists for things like tracking holiday shopping this time of year, other things that we want to do. Really easy to create and share lists, not just with family members, friends, clubs, other groups as well. Inside of the Lists for the Microsoft account, we are adding the ability to do co-authoring and presence. So very similar to what we're used to inside of things like Microsoft Excel. I can see my 3 friends are in the list. I can see what item is being updated. We can co-author it. This capability today is starting off in the Microsoft account version and will come into the enterprise version or the Microsoft 365 paid version for enterprises, whether it's education, government, small or large businesses, over the coming months as well. So as I mentioned, a lot of innovation happening with Lists. We showed some of the integration with approvals, with workflows for reminders. I really love the capability around organizational templates coming, so organizations can build their own list templates. like the work progress tracker or the travel request one that I showed you from Microsoft, adding commenting in the mobile apps, and a ton of innovation that will continue to come from Microsoft Lists, not just inside of Microsoft 365, but also on the mobile experience for iOS and Android as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about this morning is Microsoft Loop. Huge fan of Microsoft Loop. At Microsoft Technology Centers, we leverage Loop quite often for things like creating agendas, action items, task tracking. One of the things I love about Loop is how I can bring Loop components into various applications where people are working. I don't have to change their behavior. So I'm going to start off with a scenario here where maybe there's a group of people working together on a client opportunity. There's a leadership team, and they're starting off within a chat inside of Microsoft Teams. So I'll go out and I'll actually start and add a new Loop component. In this case, I'll use a task list template. We can go ahead and send the message. Others can go in and start adding tasks. Again, co-authoring in place as you would expect, so people are working on who the task is for, who it's assigned to, when it's due. We're all working together there. Then I can copy a link to the Loop component. This is a new capability around a Loop workspace to bring together different Loop components. So in this case, I might have different templates for team decisions and brainstorming. I can add an icon. I can add an image to a cover page. I can add in other Loop components. I can add in who might own this, who the stakeholders are. But as I'm inserting Loop components, again, I'm not making copies of the Loop. I'm actually just putting a reference to the Loop component that lives somewhere else. So here's that team tasks that was created over inside of Teams. I can insert a link to, in this case, a PowerPoint document. There's a Loop mobile application as well. So people that are on the go can leverage the mobile app to go ahead and like things. I can go into other applications and actually, again, bring in other Loop components, bring it over into the mobile experience, in this case, looking at it inside of Teams, but bring it into Microsoft Whiteboard as well. Again, we leverage the whiteboard quite often at the Microsoft Technology Centers, bring it into Word, bring it into Outlook. Key thing to take away from this, again, it's the same Loop component being copied, but I'm not copying the content. I'm copying a pointer to the Loop component, that fluid framework file that's being shared across all these different surface areas. And then when we're done, we want to bring back the winning ideas back to the leadership team to let them know what the final result was. So all of the work was done offline, again, in a variety of tools that people might have been comfortable with. Could have been Loop, could have been working inside of Whiteboard, could have been inside of Word or Outlook. It doesn't matter which application people are comfortable working in. The Loop component will follow them across those application experiences. Lastly, we're adding 2 new templates for Loop. In this case, I'm going to start off inside of email. So I want to insert a Loop component to do a poll. When I'm doing the poll, I might want to go ahead and visualize that as a word cloud. So imagine a brainstorming session. But maybe instead of waiting until the meeting, I send out that email in advance. Now, people that are receiving the message, or anyone that gets the Loop component, can be adding their contributions. You notice that word cloud is dynamically being built. We're also adding one around question and answer. Great for things like frequently asked questions. Getting ready for a product launch. What do we anticipate customers are going to ask around security, compliance, sales, product capabilities, making it really easy to send out that FAQ, again, not just as an email, not just as a Teams post, but as a component that people can co-author, edit, and add their feedback as well. So this is a Loop component I'm actually using to talk about the Loop roadmap. As I mentioned, the Loop application itself, the mobile experience, is in private preview today. I showed you some of the adaptive card Loop components were showing up inside of Outlook. That's in a developer preview to build your own applications. We showed you how Loop is coming, again, not just into Teams, but inside of Outlook, inside of Word, inside of Whiteboard, and other applications in the future. We looked at some of the new Loop component types for polls and question and answer. And again, I work with a lot of large regulated customers in many industries, financial services, healthcare. One of the challenges with Loop historically has been the lack of some of the integration with things like sensitivity labels for information protection and data loss prevention. Those capabilities are coming as well. So people are creating Loop components that might contain sensitive content, or we might want to label it as company confidential. We'll have the same ability to apply a sensitivity label to a Loop component as we do to any other Office document type. So with that, I'm going to hand things back to Jeff to talk about Viva and Syntax.
Thanks, Chris. All right, I know that was a lot. There's a lot more. But just again, to put it in perspective, very flexible core collaboration foundation with Teams as the hub bringing in all your applications, and SharePoint is a very flexible content platform. So that's sort of the foundation. In addition, we're building these new innovative experiences. You saw them, Loop, Lists, and Stream, that work great standalone, but also integrated inside Teams and much more. And they are all built, those three solutions, List, Loop, and Stream, are now built on SharePoint. So you get the rich collaboration capabilities, workflow with Power Platform, security and compliance, and more. So with that as a foundation, we're going to move into the third and final major section of the keynote, which is these two new families of capabilities we built on Microsoft 365. Over the last couple of years, customers, they've first focused on, gosh, should I go to the cloud? How do I do change management? How do I roll this out to users? We definitely were all very focused on that phase together. But we started to hear from companies, really two main pushes. One is, you've got to help us, Microsoft, in engaging our employees. It's harder than ever, recruiting top talent, retaining it, growing it, connecting them to leadership. This is a real challenge for us. And then the second is, they said, hey, we've digitized a set of things in moving them to the cloud, but we've not fully transformed them. How, with collaboration tools and workflow and AI, can you help us transform these content processes? So we introduced in the last couple of years two new families, Microsoft Viva for employee experiences, and Microsoft Syntex for content AI and much more in transforming these processes. And to show you just a small set of the things that are in those two new families, I'm really excited to bring up Chris McNulty. Chris.
Thanks, Jeff.
Sorry.
Good morning. It is great to be back here in Las Vegas. And with all of those SharePoint innovations, I kind of feel like we're practically at the SharePoint conference all over again. So when we think about all of the changes that we've seen across the world during the past several years, the move to remote, to hybrid, return to work, and all of those modalities, we've taken a real focus on employee experience and well-being. And so that's why we introduced Microsoft Viva. Just a few months ago, we introduced the latest edition of our Work Trend Index. One of the things that we found from a survey of over 20,000 customers and non-customers alike is 53% of the workforce says the best way to improve their skills and their career is to leave the company they're at. But more than 3/4 report they will stay longer in a company that invests in them. That's part of why we constructed Microsoft Viva. Viva was introduced in the first half of last year. It was composed of 4 modules at the outset: connections, learning, insights, and topics. And since then, we've continued to invest in the tools and capabilities that you need to shape that quality employee experience across your organization. It's focused on these 4 areas, but I'd like to just take you through a few of the innovations that we've released just in the past few months. There's a lot to keep track of, so stay tuned. So the first part of the journey is, how do I make sure I bring people together? It is powerful and wonderful to see so many of you making the journey here to be with us this week. Communities are essential, and that's why we have taken the power of Yammer to bring it into Microsoft Viva as Viva Engage. So as you'll see, in Engage, I can discover a feed of all the information that's going around my organization in the communities where I'm connected to. I can see updates from questions and polls to understand what the flow of information and what the conversations are around my organization. I can browse an official list of communities and discover some of the other ad hoc communities that exist to support people with common interests or create my own. Participating in community conversations is important, but it's also sometimes we want to be able to engage with people without knowing what community we're engaging in. That's why we created storylines. Storylines allow me to browse conversations that people have started to provide an update on what they're working on. And I can see that rich chat experience, as you just saw before. I can also compose my own stories that'll be shared on my storyline for other people to discover. with powerful tools for adding video and audio and pictures and more. So communities are part of the dialogue. The next part of the dialogue is, how do we communicate? How many of you have ever needed to write an email to summarize status on a project? Let's just see. Anyone, ever? I'm just guessing. Right. If you're at all like me, we have these regular periodic communications that we need to put out, whether it's for a project or a campaign or other things. How do we orchestrate those communications and keep track of, this should go to this distribution list, or I need to make sure this should be posted as a news post? That's where Amplify can help. So Viva Amplify is orchestrated around the idea of campaigns, being able to structure a regular, periodic communication. In this case, we're going to build a new campaign at Relic Cloud to support benefits enrollment as part of our annual renewal process. So I can build a new campaign, I can specify who's involved in writing it and approving it with the right workflows and schedules. I can review why I created this campaign and have a common authoring pane to design the communications that I want to put, in this case, to announce open enrollments beginning next month. When it's time to approve and distribute that, I can choose to automatically distribute that across a number of channels, whether it's SharePoint, Outlook, Yammer, and Teams. I can measure what's going on with that, orchestrate how that is received by people, and then, over time, measure how that campaign does relative to other communications I have by being able to look at where people engage so I can continue to work with my team to focus the communications. And no longer having to remember to cut and paste across 4 or 5 or 6 different Teams channels and Yammer groups and news posts and emails and so forth, with the analytics that we can use to bring structure and power to communicate information out through Microsoft Viva. But communication is more than just talking at people, it's about listening. And that's why we've introduced Microsoft Viva Pulse. Pulse is really focused at team managers, at making sure there is a common way to get feedback on not just project status, but team health, individual wellness and well-being. And you can compose your own questions, but you can also browse from a catalog of research-tested questions for common areas, such as well-being, diversity and inclusion, and more. So here, I'm looking to find out from my team about boundaries and family time, so I can finalize a request. When the request is received by folks on my team, they can quickly say, how do they respond to work-related stress, add a couple of things that they think could help. And with privacy protection, I need to have enough people respond before I can see the results. But once I have sufficient responses, I can see how we're doing, how people are reporting with stress, how is this changing over time, and being able to understand what's going on inside of my team. It's really important, if we're going to focus on well-being, to listen for how we can help. And Viva also adds suggestions from across the suite for where I can look for new learning, new resources, new topics, and new insights that I can use to help address the questions that may be raised by my survey. Finally, I can share that report with my colleagues to help understand what's going on with other teams in the organization, to be able to bring that back to a community of managers so we can focus on what needs attention. But there's more. So we also have announced an update to Viva Connections. So Viva Connections was introduced last year as the front door to Viva, and we've greatly expanded its role in the Viva suite. So Viva Connections now helps you focus on what's important above the fold. Viva Connections operates in many ways as your corporate intranet, your organizational portal delivered through Teams as part of Viva. And there's so much to pay attention to, so we provide new ways to help you focus on what's important with key announcements, learning, and subjects of interest across the organization, as well as provide a unified launchpad to the rest of the modules of Viva, as you can see here. We're also taking Viva beyond Connections to more common spaces like Outlook. Here I can see the daily briefing email that we deliver from Viva. But in addition to just seeing what's going on with my meetings, I can see topics that I've been connected to, asking me to review them, reminders to reserve time for learning and for what's essential in the organization. Because Viva is really about meeting people where they are and helping people be their best, regardless of which tool they happen to be working with on any given hour. We also have used Viva to enrich what we call people in Viva. People in Viva helps me understand my organization by enriching the information that I have about the org chart and people's roles with information about common goals and subjects of interest, as you can see from across the organization. So a lot of moving pieces in Viva. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more as we get into next year. And we are joined on our mission of enriching employee experience by dozens and dozens of partners, many of whom are here in the expo hall this week. Viva is very much an open system. We want you to be able to leverage your investments in the tools and systems that you've already been using to address different parts of employee experience, and let Viva help bring those together into the flow of work where people are spending most of their digital time these days. Very large and busy roadmap. I am not going to try to unpack all of this for you here right now, but I'd encourage you to come to our sessions throughout the week. Any Viva sessions there, would love to get your questions and feedback on what we're doing with Viva. Okay. Up next, not only has the nature of work changed, but the content that we're using has grown astronomically. Every day, our customers add over 1.6 billion net new documents to M365. And tomorrow, they're going to do it all over again. And at that rate of information, so much can get lost. The most common tool that people use to process information at scale is probably Outlook, if we're lucky. There are too many lost opportunities. Organizations are spending billions trying to manage all of this disconnected information, and all of that manual processing is a waste of time. It leads to decisions made on incomplete information and more. That's why we think that the only way that we can address this situation is by leveraging the capacity and power of the cloud and AI to transform the way that you work with content and empower people to transform their individual workflows. That's why we've introduced earlier this year Microsoft Syntex, which is context AI brought into the flow of work. Syntex is delivering capabilities across 4 broad areas. How do we enrich and enhance content with AI tooling to understand what's going on inside of it, convert unstructured information into structure, and be able to let people interact with it? Secondly, how do I then take that content and bring it into the flow of work, into the tools, the applications, the processes, and workflows that you need to use to get your jobs done? Third, with all that information coming in, how do we create tools that help me manage that information at scale with tools for backing it up, archiving it, and managing it with automated security and compliance? And finally, how do we make it easy as possible for you to be able to build applications on top of our development platform? So let's take a look at Syntex in a little bit more detail. So here, I'm starting with the scenario of building a series of solar power stations in South America. So I can see I've received a number of bids, and they're coming in a language that I don't have a lot of fluency in this case, Spanish. So I can, at bulk, understand how do I want to translate these documents back to a language I hopefully can navigate, which is English. So we bulk translate all of those. I can browse and take a look at the translated documents and see where they come from. But there's still a lot for me to get through. And wading through pages and pages of technically dense contract language isn't necessarily the best use for people's time, which is why Syntex has included summarization. So I can automatically generate a summary of the key points in the document, and when I scroll through it, I can see, aha, this supplier is ready to fulfill this month. We want to get them under contract. Syntex also includes tools and capabilities that allow me to generate a net new contract using content assembly. So here, I can use a pre-built template that I've customized to work with standard data sources or typed in values to say that I want to generate a new letter agreement that goes back to this supplier. Once that letter agreement is generated, I can then extend it by using our PDF management capabilities to go and attach additional information to make that contract complete. Finally, as I generate this contract, it's also important to be able to get it into an approval process. That's why with Syntex, we're investing in first-party Microsoft e-signature capabilities, as you'll see here in just a minute. With e-signature, we're going to be able to let you build workflows that keep your content in M365 inside of that trust boundary, but allow you to engage people in an approval process that's so important, in this case, for contracting. So here, I'm going to request signatures in this contract, and I'm going to request that this contract be signed by a representative from the manufacturer and from my manager. And as you can see, we support not just Microsoft's own native e-signature, but as well as our partner solutions from Adobe and from DocuSign. So I can mark the document up for where I want to add the signatures, and so I will drag the signature lines down into the document for Northwind as well as for Contoso, and route this document for someone to sign. When they receive notice that the document is ready to be signed, they are going to be able to sign it directly from inside of M365. The document never leaves your trust boundary, and you can see that Megan, in this case me, has requested a signature, and Brian can add a wet signature or an electronic signature. At all points in the process, I can understand where we are, who's signed, who hasn't signed, so I can make sure I'm ready to take delivery of this information this year. And so the document comes back. It's been signed by all parties, which is fantastic. Syntex is building on our legacy of being able to use no-code AI to crack into documents, to understand what's going on, to classify, extract metadata, and apply automated security and retention. As you'll see, again, a very large and busy roadmap. If you have questions about this roadmap, please come to my session tomorrow. I did not bring a t-shirt cannon, but I do have lots of hats. So hopefully we'll be able to see many of you at my session tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So we're really excited to be here, and I am going to turn it back to Jeff to wrap it up for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And as he shared on the slide, in addition to the session, a lot of resources for you to get up to speed on Syntex. All right, in the interest of time, we mainly focused the session this morning on things that appeal to end users. But of course, the work we do for IT pros and developers is really critical, and so I just thought I'd highlight a few updates on that. On IT pros, as Stephen showed and Holly, we're very focused on making sure people can collaborate more seamlessly inside and outside their organization. But people want more security and governance, be it information barriers or DLP or e-discovery or data access governance or conditional access, classification, labeling, protection, on and on and on. All these things were the result of a lot of customer listening and feedback. And the thing I wanted to highlight is that we have a very comprehensive offering between the things we've built in Microsoft 365 and the additional capabilities provided by Microsoft Purview that give you the next level of analysis and governance for risk and compliance that different industries deal with in different ways. It could be pharmaceutical or government or healthcare, financial services. And so we have a very sophisticated set of capabilities to make the Microsoft Cloud the best place to govern your data, far, far, far beyond what people can do in on-premises, homegrown solutions. Next up, let's talk about developers. One of my favorite things is to make sure that we make the development stack for Microsoft simple and clear. Scott talked a little bit about this. Charles Lamanna, who runs the Power Platform team, and I had a chance to talk about this in a build session called Collaborative Apps. And this is how you can use the Microsoft 365 data and services and experience combined with custom services built in Azure or any other system or stack. They could exist in other clouds or on premises and so forth, and that you can build these solutions either with professional development tools like Visual Studio and GitHub and so forth, or with new low-code tools like the Power Platform and Power Automate. So very focused on integrating these workflows inside the tools where people are so that you can connect human beings with business processes and automate some of that either with logic or with AI and machine learning. If I highlight a couple of specific aspects of our developer story, hopefully it was great to see a bunch of people are here for the first time. Thank you for coming. Hopefully at this point you're a couple hours in and you think you got your money's worth. But for people who've been going to this for years, hopefully you see this slide and say, wait, that's the same slide he used in 2016. And we know for developers it's very important that we both evolve to take advantages of new technologies and new programming paradigms, but also are very consistent and predictable. And so the way you access data in the Microsoft 365 stack is consistent. It's through a set of REST interfaces called the Microsoft Graph, where you can get access to people and content and conversations and calendars and much more. All this new stuff that Chris showed, getting to the data in our very latest stuff, is just the Microsoft Graph. That's the data layer. On the user experience layer, we have a lot of different ways to integrate user experiences with, say, Excel and Outlook and Teams and so forth. But I want to highlight one of my favorites, which is the SharePoint framework. This is the way developers build components, maybe how you access an expense management system or how you fetch the latest status on manufacturing or retail or inventory management. And end users can create these pages in SharePoint by assembling these parts on these pages in a very simple way. And you see the latest iteration on that. The Viva Connections user experience that Chris talked about very briefly is using adaptive cards integrated with the SharePoint framework in our 16th version of that. So again, sort of innovating, evolving, but within a consistent developer approach. But I'm really excited. We've also brought this SharePoint framework, this page creation and assembly technology, to Microsoft Teams, and to now, again, Viva Connections, Viva Topics, and much more. So again, consistent developer story getting to the user level, user experience level integration, and the data level. And so with that, I will close. Thank you so much. We are very grateful for all the support you've given us. We don't take it for granted. Hopefully you see we're innovating faster than ever. But please keep the feedback coming as you interact with people in our team this week. And have a great Microsoft 365 conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.